All right, so we've gotten some questions about how to use Microsoft Teams for remote instruction since we're having to do a lot of virtual teaching across the district. And so I wanted to walk you through how TNC is doing it. It's the way that I think is the most streamlined. And so it may fit your setting and it may not, but I think it's worth at least kind of walking through and showing one of the options. And so I'm going to walk you through how we schedule meetings, how our inclusion teachers or principals can find and join any meeting, and then how the students join the meetings. So I'm just going to walk us through those three things, how we're doing them at TNC. So to start is how we schedule meetings. To schedule meetings, what we do is we start in our calendar. And in our calendar, you'll see some of the meetings that we already have scheduled. In our calendar, we come up to New Meeting at the top, and we click New Meeting. We get a screen very similar to the one you see in Outlook. At TNC, we have very specific naming conventions so that the meetings are easy to find by people who might need to join, like a principal, an inclusion teacher, related services, those kinds of things. So we name our meetings based on the section, the subject, and the teacher. And so, for example, my meetings are Mesa, ELA, Mandy, and that's what I would name my meetings. So we have that very specific naming convention. The next thing we do is we add our students as required attendees. Now here at TNC, the kids live on site, and so they have one computer per unit, and so they have a unit account. So we would add that student as a required attendee. Now I'm going to add my test student so that we can see the student side here in a little while, but we add them. If you have anybody else that teaches with you, like an IA or a co-teacher, you could add them here as well. The advantage to adding someone as a required attendee is that it pushes the meeting directly onto their Microsoft Teams calendar, and so it shows up without having to be accepted. We pick the date and the time. I'm going to put it for 1:30. I can adjust the length, anything like that. I could make it repeat. We do it 1 week at a time. So I want it to repeat every day until Friday. So this tells me it will repeat every 1 day until Friday. I can hit save. Now the next step is how we get our inclusion teachers and our related services people access to all of our meetings without cluttering up their calendars. When you click Add Channel, we have a team called TNC Distance Learning, and there is nothing in that team except our meetings. And so what that allows us to do is I select the general channel, and this allows that team's calendar to show all of our meetings. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second, but that's an important step in scheduling our meetings. The location and the meeting details we leave blank. We come up to the top and we hit send. So now you can see it is trying to load those onto my calendar. It will also load directly to the test student's calendar, as well as that distance learning team. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how, if I were an inclusion teacher or a related services provider and I wanted to join one of these meetings, I'm going to show you where to do that. So to do that, we're going to go to the TNC Distance Learning team. When I click in here, you'll see there's nothing but meetings going on. So I can either scroll through right here where I see the section, the subject, and the teacher. I can see that right now I have a teacher in a meeting with Sierra, Science with Andrew. There's a teacher in here with Mr. Randy. And so I can scroll through and I can join the meetings that are currently active. The other way that I can view all of the meetings is by clicking this tab here that says schedule. And if I click there, I have a SharePoint team that shows me in time order the schedule. So it's starting at 12:15. Here's all my 1 o'clock classes, my 1:30 classes, my 1:45 classes, my 2:30 classes. It shows them all in order. So if I wanted to join art with Miss Reichert, I could click here, and you'll see that the Join Microsoft Teams link is right here. And so that's how our principal, our related services providers, and our inclusion teachers jump from classroom to classroom without having to be added to each meeting. The last thing I'm going to show you is what it looks like to students. So on each of the students' computers, we have Microsoft Teams bookmarked. Because they're on Chromebooks, they don't have the app, but if you're not using Chromebooks, I definitely recommend using the app. It's not an option for us. So I have their calendar bookmarked. So when the students click on Microsoft Teams on their Chromebook, they come straight to their calendar. And on their calendar, you see that the meeting we just created is automatically here. I didn't have to accept it or check my email or anything. It's all automatically on my calendar. So in order to join the meeting, I would just at 1:30 click on my class, and I would come up here and click join. Now this little message here is because my test student is not a member of the TNC distance learning team, but you can still join this team or join this meeting by clicking right here. There's also the join link down at the bottom. So that's how we are doing it at TNC. It's not the only way to do it. It's the way that we have found so far to be the easiest and the most efficient and the most streamlined. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those for you. I'll make another video on a couple of the other ways that you can get your students and your inclusion providers access to your meetings, but this is the way that we like to do it at TNC. I think that it is in my opinion, the best way to organize it if it fits your setting.